Welcome back, everybody. Today, for our half day, we're going to be learning about prehistoric art, and I'm going to read you a story called The First Drawing, and it'll be exciting to see the first drawing ever made. Okay, so this is called The First Drawing. Some of the oldest drawings ever found were made 30,000 years ago in a cave in southern France. In that same cave is the footprint of an 8-year-old child. Alongside it, the footprint of a wolf. Imagine you were born before the invention of drawing, more than 30,000 years ago. You live in a cave with your parents, grandparents, sisters, brothers, uncles, aunts, many cousins, and your wolf, Shadow. It's a big cave. You love to watch animals. You see them everywhere. You see them at the river where they come to drink. Horses, giant elk, reindeer, woolly rhinoceroses, bears, sometimes lions, and more. You sit and watch them for hours. You see the grand white and gray clouds that drift over the valley. Their ever-changing shapes look to you like a parade of animals. "Papa, that cloud looks like a woolly mammoth." "It looks to me," says your father, "like a cloud." When collecting stones for spearheads and knives, you think some look like animals too. "Mama, this stone looks like a bear." "To me," says your mother, "it looks like a stone." You wonder, why can't they see what I see? At night, wrapped in deerskins, you see shadow images of all the animals again. The firelight flickering over the bumps and hollows of the cave walls, and they seem to move. "Look, Mama, galloping horses." "What horses? Go to sleep." "Papa, Grandpa, there on the ceiling, elk." "There are no elk. Go to sleep." "Sisters, brothers, cousins, don't you see the rhinoceroses?" "No," shouts everyone. "Now go to sleep." They call you child who sees what is there. How can you make them see what you see? Every night you watch the animals on the walls. Then you dream you're running with them, like one of them. One morning, you're out with your father searching for stones. You wander off around a hill of huge boulders. You look up and see right in front of you a woolly mammoth. It's not made of lights and shadows or clouds. You can smell it, warm and musky. It sniffs you with its trunk, then stands perfectly still. So do you. You're afraid to move. It's like a fur-covered mountain with eyes that look into yours. You look back, and in those eyes, you see that being a mammoth might not be so different from being you. The mammoth sighs through its trunk, and like a mountain walking, it turns and slowly lumbers away. You begin to breathe again. "Papa, right in front of me, a woolly child," your father says. "What are we going to do with you?" That night, in front of the fire, as your eyes begin to close, you see an image on the wall, so big and so real, you sit up and say, "Yow!" "What's wrong?" asks your mother. "Look, on the wall. It looks like it's breathing." "There's nothing," they say. "Go to sleep." "But look, the tail, the tusks, why don't you see it?" Now everyone is awake. "There's nothing to see. Go to sleep." "How can I make you see?" Without thinking, you leap out of bed, take a burnt stick out of the fire, and run to the wall. "Look, here's the tail. Here, the back legs." You make marks on the bumpy wall to show them where to look. And the back and the front legs, the ears, the eye watching us, its trunk and its tusks. "Stop," shouts your father. He aims his spear at the wall. Everyone huddles in the doorway, the wide-eyed children clutching their parents' legs. "I can see it," gasps your father. "This is magic." "No, Papa, I'm just showing you." And you look at what you've done. You made the world's first drawing. Yes, you say, it is magic. Now everyone can see what you see, and so you make more drawings. You show your parents, grandparents, sisters, brothers, uncles, aunts, and cousins how to draw too. For thousands of years, people keep drawing. Even today, people are still doing it. And that's how, if you'd been around more than 30,000 years ago, you might have invented drawing. And it's still magic. So let's talk a little bit about prehistoric art. Probably heard that word before, prehistoric art. So that is another way of saying cave art. So prehistoric art, as I said, was made in caves. So the people that lived in the caves and lived in those communities were painting and drawing on the walls. Now there are two types of artwork that can be made on the rocks or the walls. One of them is called a petroglyph, and it's spelled Petroglyphs. Petroglyphs are drawings that are carved into the rocks. You would take something sharp and hit it with another rock, and you would carve that into the rocks. And then there's another kind called a pictograph. Pictograph, Pictographs. And that is when you're painting on the rocks. So how they would make paint is they would find colorful, soft rocks. They'd grind them down to a powder and then mix them with water so that they became kind of like a paste or something thicker. And then they would use something like animal tails, or they would fashion different kinds of paintbrushes made out of what they had around. And they would use those rocks that they made into paint to paint on the walls. And the colors are very typically these colors. There's brown, kind of a dark mustardy yellow, a reddish brown that we like to call sienna, and then a really, 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 really dark brown and white. Now, what did they paint on the walls and why? So people that lived in the caves in prehistoric times, they would paint on the walls a lot of animals and a lot of shapes, especially geometric shapes. And there's a lot of speculation or a lot of guessing about what exactly these shapes and animals represented or why they were painting them. There's not a lot of information that we can gather just from the pictures because no one was writing anything down. And that's how you know about history. People wrote things down, right? People didn't write things down in the prehistoric times. So the way they communicated, we think, is through these drawings. And also, they're just really nice to look at. So animals that they found on the walls and these geometric shapes and symbols that they would create were a way of kind of documenting for them what they saw. So we know that they saw these different kinds of horses and these different kinds of bulls and bison and all that other stuff. And let's talk specifically about the cave in southern France that we mentioned at the beginning of our story, if you remember that. That cave is called the Lascaux Cave. That's spelled Lascaux, Lascaux Cave. It looks like it says Lascaux, but it's Lascaux. And so that cave was actually very interesting because it was incredibly organized. So if you think about a cave, you think, well, it's just a big black tunnel, right? But this cave was very well organized in the sense that the artwork that was created in the cave was placed in very specific places on purpose. Now, we don't know all the reasons why, but we know that they had their own reasons, and it wasn't just random artwork on the walls. Okay, now this is a really fun assignment. I've included on the assignment 3 different cave outlines, 3 different cave diagrams. What you're going to do is you're going to create and design your own cave. So I have 3 different cave shapes, and you're going to pick one of them. And if you don't have a printer, you can just Draw the same shape. It needs to be big though, so that you can label everything. And here's what you're gonna do. You're going to tell me where you're going to put your paintings, how big will your paintings be, what colors will you use, and what will you paint. Okay, go ahead and get started on your cave. Take a picture of it and then you'll submit it to Google Classroom when you're done. Bye guys.